Welcome back, everyone, and a very specific, warm, and energetic welcome to all our brothers and sisters in Christ who are tuning in today. You have found your way to a special edition of Soulful Scriptures Everyday. Hard to believe we're already closing out the first month of the year.
It just flies by.
It really does. And looking at the window, at least where we are, it is a bitterly cold morning. And honestly, if you've been scrolling through the headlines or watching the news this week, it feels a little cold in the spirit of the nation as well. There's a chill in the air that isn't just meteorological. And we're here, as we always are, to try and find that difficult, necessary place where our faith meets the incredibly messy, complex realities of the modern world.
It is a complex morning indeed. And I think messy is the absolute right word. There's this temptation, I think, for all of us believers to want our faith lives to be separate from the noise of the news cycle.
Right, to just tune it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We want a quiet retreat. We want the sanctuary to be a bunker where the world can't get in. But historically, scripturally, and practically, faith doesn't let us hide.
No.
It often calls us right into the center of the storm.
Exactly. And that is the mission today. We aren't hiding from the noise. We're trying to tune into the signal within the noise. And speaking of our community helping us navigate that storm, I want to give a specific shout out right at the top here.
Oh, good.
We have a listener named Maria who reached out to us earlier this week. Maria, if you're listening, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Maria. It's listeners like you who really keep this conversation grounded in what's actually happening.
She sent over a very heavy but absolutely necessary news article from EWTN, the Global Catholic Network.
Okay.
It was written by a journalist named Daniel Payne. And frankly, reading through it, it just stopped me in my tracks. It's one of those pieces that makes you put your phone down and just sort of stare at the wall for a minute.
I know exactly the feeling. It's a piece that really encapsulates the specific tension we're living through right now in 2026. It catches the mood perfectly, for better or worse.
Yeah.
It's a snapshot of a moment where things feel fragile.
It does. So, Maria, thank you for trusting us with this. We're going to honor your request and really unpack this today. The article centers on a plea, a literal plea for peace coming from Bishop Robert Barron.
A major voice.
A major voice, exactly. Many of you know Bishop Barron. He's heavily involved in media, Word on Fire, all of that. But he's not speaking about theology in the abstract here. He isn't reviewing a movie or discussing Thomas Aquinas' views on angels.
No, this is very real world.
He's speaking about what is happening literally in his own backyard in Minnesota.
Right. And to set the stage briefly, before we really dive into the gritty details, what we're looking at is a convergence of three very, very difficult things.
Okay.
You have a federal policy of mass deportations, which has ramped up significantly in recent months. You have the tragic killing of a United States citizen involving immigration enforcement.
And that's the flashpoint.
That's the flashpoint. And then you have a bishop trying to find a way out of the resulting chaos.
It is heavy. But our mission today is to look at this unflinchingly. I want to be clear right off the bat. We aren't here to tell you who to vote for. That ship has sailed. We are in the second term of the Trump presidency.
Right.
We aren't here to pick political sides or tell you which party has the moral high ground. We are here to look at the human and the spiritual reality of what is happening. So let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
We have to start with the spark. The article Maria sent us makes it clear that Bishop Barron didn't just wake up one morning and decide to write a statement on immigration policy for the sake of it.
No, this was a response.
It was a direct response to something specific and visceral. So take us back to January 7, 2026. What happened in Minneapolis?
So to understand the bishop's reaction, and really the reaction of the church writ large, you have to understand the temperature on the ground. It's January 7. In Minneapolis, there was a protest. Now, protests regarding ICE immigration and customs enforcement have been pretty common lately. We've seen them in various cities across the U.S. But this one turned deadly in a way that just shocked the nation.
This involves the death of Renee Good.
Yes, Renee Good. She was 37 years old. And it is crucial to note, because it changes the entire national conversation, it changes the legal dynamics, that she was a United States citizen.
Right. That's a key detail.
It's the key detail. She wasn't the target of a deportation order. She wasn't an undocumented migrant trying to evade capture. She was there to protest the actions of the agency.
And according to the reports we have from Daniel Payne's article, this situation escalated incredibly fast. I mean, what are the details of the confrontation? How does a protest turn into a shooting in the blink of an eye?
It's the fog of conflict. I mean, that's what it sounds like. So Renee Good was in her vehicle. The reports indicate she had partially blocked a street with her car.
Which is a common protest tactic.
a very common tactic in civil disobedience. You block transit routes to disrupt operations, to make it harder for the vans to move. ICE agents were in the area conducting what are being called enhanced operations. They approached her vehicle. Now, this is where the accounts become very specific in the report.
Oh, wait.
The agents ordered her out of the vehicle.
And she didn't get out.
The allegation from authorities is that she attempted to speed away, and in doing so, in that chaotic moment of either fleeing or maneuvering, she allegedly struck an ICE agent, Officer Jonathan Ross, with her car.
And the response from the agent?
Agent Ross fired his weapon.
Yeah.
Renee Good was shot and killed.
It's just, it's tragic. It makes your stomach turn. Regardless of how you parse the details, regardless of where you stand on the law, you have a 37-year-old woman dead.
Right.
You have an officer struck by a vehicle, likely injured, and certainly traumatized for life. And you have a community that was already on edge, now completely exploding.
Exactly. And that is the spark we're talking about. Minneapolis has been a flashpoint for social unrest before. We all remember the early 2020s.
Of course.
This event, involving a federal agent killing a citizen during a protest about deportation, just poured gasoline on the fire. The article describes the aftermath as national outrage.
So this wasn't just a local story.
Oh, no. We aren't just talking about a local news story on the Minneapolis Evening News. This triggered major protests throughout the country. It touched a nerve.
And this is the context in which Bishop Barron finds himself. He's the Bishop of Winona-Rochester, which covers southern Minnesota. He's a local shepherd watching his state and really the country descend into what he calls violence, retribution, threats.
That list of words he used in his statement is really telling. Violence, retribution, threats, protests, deep suspicion of one another.
Yeah, last one.
That last one sticks with me, deep suspicion. It suggests the very fabric of the community is tearing. It's not just about the law anymore. It's about how neighbors are looking at neighbors.
Right.
It's about the erosion of trust. When you have deep suspicion, you stop seeing people as people. You see them as potential threats or enemies.
And he said his heart is breaking.
Yes. And that's the pastoral voice coming through, isn't it?
Yeah.
Before he gets to the policy, before he offers a solution, he starts with the grief. He starts with the reality of the pain.
He's not just a commentator.
Exactly. He isn't analyzing this like a pundit. He's feeling it like a father.
So let's zoom out for a second, because as you said, this didn't happen in a vacuum. We are in 2026. We are in the second term of President Donald Trump. What's the broader landscape that made this Minneapolis moment so combustible? Why is the tension so high right now?
Well, the source material is very clear on this. The mass deportation effort is described as a major part, perhaps even a central pillar of the president's domestic policy in this second term.
Okay.
We aren't talking about routine enforcement or border security in the traditional sense. The term used is enhanced deportations.
Enhanced deportations. That sounds intense. It sounds like military terminology. What does that actually look like operationally?
Well, we can infer. It implies a significant increase in tempo, in scope, and in visibility of IC operations.
So they're more visible?
Much more. It means operations aren't just happening at the border. They're happening in interior cities, in neighborhoods, in workplaces. So when you have enhanced operations meeting enhanced resistance from protesters who are mobilized,
The margin for error just vanishes.
it disappears, the pressure cooker is sealed tight, and the heat is turned all the way up.
And when the heat is that high, it only takes a tiny spark, like a car blocking a street, to cause an explosion.
Precisely.
So on January 18th, about a week and a half after Renee Good was killed, Bishop Barron issues this statement. He takes to the platform X, what we used to call Twitter, and he issues what he calls a modest proposal.
Right.
Now, I know my literature, and usually a modest proposal refers to that satirical essay by Jonathan Swift about eating children to solve famine. But Barron isn't being satirical here, is he?
No, not at all. Though he is certainly aware of the literary reference. He's a scholar, after all.
Of course.
He's using the phrase to imply that what he is asking for should be simple, it should be reasonable, it should be the baseline.
But it's not.
But in the current climate, in this hyper-polarized 2026, it sounds almost radical. He's trying to cut through the noise with a four-pronged appeal.
Okay, let's break these down. 4 prongs. He addresses 4 different groups of people. Who is he talking to first?
First, he addresses the immigration officials, so the federal government, ICE leadership, and the agents on the ground.
And what is the ask? What does he want them to do?
He asks them to focus on deporting only serious criminals.
No, wait a minute. Some listeners might say, well, isn't that what they always say they're doing? Prioritizing threats.
Sure, that's often the stated goal in the press releases. But Barron's is being very specific here. He's asking them to limit themselves, he says, at least for the time being.
Ah, that's a key phrase.
It's a crucial phrase. He is acknowledging the crisis mode we're in. He's saying essentially, look, the country is tearing itself apart. To de-escalate, you need to narrow your scope. He's asking the state to show restraint.
To take a breath.
Yes. He's asking them to prioritize social peace over total enforcement for a moment. He's saying, cool it down.
Okay, so that's the ask for the government. Limit the scope to serious criminals to lower the temperature. Who is the second group he addresses?
The protesters.
This is interesting because often public figures will only criticize one side. They'll either blast the police or blast the rioters, but Barron pivots right to the people protesting Renee Good's death.
He does. And his request is just as direct. Cease interfering with the work of immigration agents.
Cease interfering. Wow, that's a hard pill to swallow if you believe the work those agents are doing is unjust.
It is.
If you believe the law itself is wrong, isn't interfering the whole point of the protest?
From a purely secular activist perspective, yes. But Barron is looking at the reality of the violence. He's seen that this interference is leading to situations like the death of Renee Good and the injury of Agent Ross.
He's focused on the outcome.
He's focused on the human cost. He is calling for a restoration of order and safety. He's saying that physical interference is not the path to justice right now. It's the path to more death. He's asking them to step back from the physical brink. You can protest, you can march, but do not physically impede the officers, because that is where the tragedy happens.
Okay, so, ICE, back off a bit. Protesters, stop physically interfering. Who is number 3?
Political leaders.
Ah, the people with the microphones and the cameras.
Exactly, the amplifiers. Barron says political leaders should stop stirring up resentment against officers who are endeavoring to enforce the laws.
That's a strong critique of the rhetoric we hear so often. We often hear language that paints federal agents as, villains or stormtroopers.
It is. He's defending the humanity of the officers. He's pointing out that demonizing the people who are just trying to do their job to enforce the law creates a dangerous environment for everyone.
It's like pouring fuel on the fire.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It makes the officers feel besieged, which can make them more reactive, and at the same time, it validates the anger of the crowds. It's a call for responsibility in rhetoric. You can disagree with a policy without dehumanizing the person executing it.
He's reminding us that Agent Ross is a human being.
Regardless of the outcome of the investigation, yes. He's a human being, not just a uniform.
And finally, the 4th group. I have a feeling this one includes you and me.
It does. It includes all of us. He addresses Americans, the general public. And his words are, stop shouting at one another and demonizing their opponents.
Stop shouting. It sounds like a parent breaking up a fight between siblings in the backseat of a car.
It really does. And I think that's the role a bishop tries to occupy, a spiritual father. He's looking at his flock, which includes people on both sides of this political divide, Democratic Catholics, Republican Catholics, people with badges, people with protest signs, and he's saying, this hatred is destroying you.
It's a spiritual diagnosis.
It's a spiritual diagnosis as much as a political one. If you can't talk to your neighbor without shouting, you have a spiritual problem.
It's a middle way, isn't it? He's trying to carve out a path right down the middle.
Precisely. And the middle way is often the most lonely place to stand.
It really is. I mean, think about it. If you're a hardline supporter of the deportation policy, you're mad at Barron for telling IC to limit their scope.
Right. You're thinking, enforce the law.
Why are you softening? And if you're a fervent protester, you're mad at Barron for telling you to stop interfering and to stop resenting the officers. You're saying, resist injustice. Why are you silencing us?
He's challenging everyone.
He is.
And that's how you know it's likely a gospel-centered approach. It doesn't fit neatly into a partisan box. He says, where we are now is untenable. There is a way out.
Untenable.
He believes that de-escalation is possible, but it requires everyone to give up a little bit of their righteous anger. It requires a collective humility.
So it requires us to lay down our weapons.
Both literal and rhetorical.
Yes. Untenable. That's the word. We can't keep going like this. But here is where it gets really interesting and really scary, honestly. This isn't just about protests in the streets. This isn't just about traffic stops. This is starting to affect the actual physical safety of the church itself.
This is the part of the deep dive that really gave me pause. We need to talk about what happened in December 2025. just a month before the shooting.
Okay.
This was the prelude to the current crisis.
This was also in Minnesota, right?
Yes. In December, ICE agents arrested a Catholic church employee.
An employee of the church, not just a parishioner attending Mass, but staff, someone who keeps the place running.
Yes. And after that arrest, the agents reportedly surveilled the parish.
They were watching the church, like stakeout style, sitting in cars outside.
That is the report.
Yeah.
The pastor of that church went on record saying the agents were terrorizing the locals just by their presence.
Let's unpack that word, terrorizing. Because for many listeners, seeing a law enforcement vehicle is a sign of safety. If I see a police car, I usually think, oh good, help is nearby. But for this community...
For an immigrant community or a community with mixed status families, where maybe the mom is a citizen but the dad isn't, or the kids are citizens but the grandparents aren't, an ICE vehicle parked outside your church isn't a sign of safety.
No.
It's a threat. It means if you come here to pray, you might not go home. It transforms the sanctuary, a place that has historically been a safe haven, a literal sanctuary, into a trap.
And the fact that they arrested a church employee, that sends a very clear message, doesn't it? It says there are no safe zones.
It does. It breaks that unspoken rule that holy ground is neutral ground. Throughout history, the church has been a place of asylum. If the government is watching the church doors, that asylum is broken. And this leads us to perhaps the most shocking detail in the source material Maria sent us.
Oh, wow.
The fear is so palpable, so physical, that the church has had to take a step that is incredibly rare in canon law.
We're talking about dispensations.
Yes. Multiple U.S. bishops have issued dispensations from the obligation to attend Mass.
Okay, for those who might not be Catholic or who need a refresher, this is a very big deal. The Sunday obligation is central to Catholic life. You go to Mass, period.
Right.
It's one of the precepts of the church. It's not a suggestion, it's a requirement.
It is non-negotiable, usually. It's a mortal sin to miss it without a grave cause.
Yeah.
Usually, grave cause means you're sick or you're caring for someone who is dying or there's a blizzard and the roads are closed.
But here,
the grave cause is the fear of the government.
which diocese are we talking about? Do we know?
The article mentions the Archdiocese in New Orleans and the Diocese of San Bernardino, among others.
So these are huge population centers.
Oh, yeah. We aren't talking about tiny, isolated parishes. We're talking about major American cities.
So you have bishops explicitly telling their people it is unsafe for you to come to God's house, so you are excused.
Think about the spiritual weight of that. The political situation has become so hostile that it has severed the physical link between the believer and the Eucharist. That is what Barron means when he says the situation is unbearable.
Wow.
It's not just politically unbearable, it's spiritually suffocating. It prevents the faithful from gathering. It literally blocks the path to the altar.
It connects right back to our show's name, Soulful Scriptures. How can you nurture the soul when you are too terrified to walk out your front door?
You can't.
How do you maintain a community when the act of gathering is an act of risk?
Exactly. Fear is the enemy of faith. And right now, fear is the dominant currency in these communities.
But here's the other side of the coin, because the church is never just one thing. The church isn't just hiding. They aren't just locking the doors and issuing dispensations. They're also moving toward the suffering.
That's the paradox of the Christian witness, isn't it? While they are protecting the vulnerable by excusing them from Mass, the leadership is also going into the belly of the beast.
They're going where the people are.
Even if the people are behind bars.
The source mentions something that happened back in November 2025 in Aurora, Colorado. This image really stuck with me.
You're thinking of Archbishop Samuel Aquila.
Yes, the Archbishop of Denver and his auxiliary bishop, Jorge Rodriguez. What did they do?
They went to an ICE detention facility in Aurora, and they didn't just tour it. They didn't just inspect the conditions or shake hands with the warden.
What did they do?
They led the Stations of the Cross there.
The Stations of the Cross. For those who don't know, that's a traditional devotion. It's a meditation on Jesus' walk to his execution, from the condemnation by Pontius Pilate all the way to the tomb.
It is the contemplation of the suffering of God. To do that inside a detention center, I mean, the symbolism is profound. It's saying Christ is here, Christ is detained, Christ is suffering with these people.
It's a pastoral act of solidarity.
Completely. It's a way of asserting human dignity without necessarily making a political speech. It says, you are not forgotten and God is not absent from this cage. And we see this elsewhere too. Bishop James Conley in Lincoln, Nebraska.
What's happening in Lincoln?
Bishop Conley has been urging the government to allow pastoral access. That's a key battleground right now. The church is saying, Even if you deport these people, you cannot deny them access to God while they are in your custody.
It's a fight for religious freedom.
The basic religious freedom of the detainee. The state can control the body, but the church is fighting for the right to minister to the soul.
It seems like the bishops are trying to thread a very difficult needle. They aren't acting as politicians, but they're engaging with politics. And we have the USCCB, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, taking a collective stance as well.
Yes, back at their plenary assembly in November 2025, they declared their opposition to indiscriminate mass deportation.
And note that word, indiscriminate. That seems very intentional.
Words matter. The bishops generally respect the right of a nation to secure its borders. The Catechism supports that. Nations have a right to manage migration for the common good, but they are opposing indiscriminate action that sweeps up families, that ignores individual circumstances, that violates human dignity.
So they aren't saying no borders. They are saying no cruelty.
Precisely. They are urging the government to respect the dignity of migrants. And that brings us right back full circle to Bishop Barron's modest proposal. He isn't saying abolish ICE. He isn't saying open all the borders. He is saying, can we please enforce the law in a way that doesn't rip us apart? Can we focus on the serious criminals and leave the grandmother alone for a moment just so we can lower the temperature?
It sounds so reasonable when you say it like that. But in the context of a polarized 2026, with a U.S. citizen dead and agents being hit by cars, reasonable feels miles away.
It feels like a whisper in a hurricane.
It does.
But that's the job of the church, to stand in the breach and offer the unreasonable hope that we can be better than this, to be the whisper that eventually calms the storm.
So what does this all mean for us? For you, listening right now, maybe you're in Minnesota, maybe you're in New Orleans, or maybe you're just somewhere in between, feeling the stress of the news.
I think we have to go back to Barron's final point. The one to Americans.
Stop shouting.
Stop shouting. Stop demonizing.
Yeah.
It is so tempting when we see a headline like the killing of Renee Good to retreat into our tribe, to say, the protesters are thugs, they deserved it, or the agents are murderers, abolish the agency.
It's easy. It feels righteous.
It's easy. It's satisfying in a dark way. It feels like righteousness.
Yeah.
But it's poison.
It really is. It feels good for about 5 seconds to scream at the TV or post an angry comment, but it doesn't change anything. And looking at the tragedy of Renee Good, a life ended at 37, and the fear in the parishes. If we don't stop shouting, what comes next?
That's the scary question. Barron says, where we are now is untenable. That means it cannot hold. It will break. The question is, will it break towards civil war and total chaos, or will it break toward a new understanding?
And the church is betting on a new understanding.
The church is betting on the latter, but it requires cooperation. It requires us to see the human being across the line, whether that human is an ICE agent named Jonathan Ross or a protester named Renee Good.
They are both children of God.
And that is the hardest spiritual discipline of all. To see the image of God in the person you are most afraid of or most angry at. To see the face of Christ in the person shouting at you.
That is the deep dive today. It's not an easy one. It's not a feel-good episode, but it is real.
It is the reality of faith in 2026.
I want to leave you with a thought to chew on this weekend. Bishop Barron had to ask for a modest proposal. He had to ask protesters not to interfere and the government to only target criminals. These seem like baseline expectations for a functioning society. If a bishop has to beg for the modest baseline just to stop the killing, what does that say about how far we have drifted from seeing each other as human beings?
And can we actually do both? Can we cease interfering and limit ourselves simultaneously? Or are we all just waiting for the other side to blink first? Because if we're waiting for the other side to change before we change our hearts, we might be waiting a very long time.
That's the challenge. Thank you for listening to this difficult but important update. And again, a huge thank you to Maria for bringing this to our attention.
Yes, thank you, Maria.
We know this topic brings up a lot of emotions, and we want to hear from you, not just your political opinions. There are plenty of places for that on the internet. We want your faith testimonies.
Yes.
How are you navigating these tensions in your own community? How are you keeping your heart soft in a hard season?
We really do want to know. Are you seeing this fear in your parish? Are you finding ways to bridge the divide? Tell us your story.
Send us an email. We read every single one. You can reach us at soulfulscriptureseveryday@gmail.com. That's soulfulscriptureseveryday@gmail.com.
We'd love to hear from you.
Until next time, friends. It's a messy world, but grace is sufficient. Walk in peace.
Stay soulful.